This
Approve the
conference will
agenda.
now be recorded.
There should be a newer one than that.
We got one.
That's one.
This one here.
That's a good one.
Okay.
If we brought one in, it's out of date.
Are there any additions to the agenda? If not, I accept the motion to approve the agenda.
I'd make that motion.
Motion has been made to accept the agenda as approved, as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any more discussion?
Do we, yes, I just realized, do we need to have anything on here approving the minutes from the annual Board of Audit? Because I saw that was a separate set of minutes.
Didn't we do that last month?
Yes.
Oh, we did? Okay, I'm sorry.
I think or did we? Is that in there? No, that was after the last meeting, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, well, we stopped the regular meeting, did the Board of Audit, and then went back to the,
But that was on the 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a separate, it's included in the regular minutes, but it's a separate one, so that should be added in there too. Board of Audit to approve that. You want to add that to the agenda?
I'd like to add that to the agenda, please.
Okay. We will add the Board of Audit minutes to the agenda. Is there any other, we'll say that I did not announce the motion. Now we announce the motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the Board of Audit. We still have a motion.
Can I ask if the second hearing of the rezoning of the area surrounding the Keppel property was added to the agenda? I didn't get the updated agenda that sounds like has been distributed there.
You can look on the web.
It is,
It's on the agenda.
it's on the agenda and it was on the previous agenda also.
On the website.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote on the motion to approve the agenda by adding Board of Audit. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Next item is to approve the meeting minutes of the April 20th monthly meeting. Notice we, I believe it'd be page 3, where we have to appoint 2 planning commission members. Just, I guess you call it page 4. Stephen Langer's name is spelled 2 different ways.
Doesn't he have multiple ways of spelling?
He maybe does. If that's true, that's fine.
Or is it just?
Is it Stephen or is it with a B or a P?
No, it's PFLE.
Oh, that's his first name.
his first name, you got a S-T-E-V-E-N, and then you got a S-T-E-P-H-E-N.
Oh, no, it's B. My bad.
Are there any other additions, corrections to the April 20th monthly meeting? If there are none, I accept the motion to accept the minutes of the April 20th monthly meeting.
So moved.
Motion been made. Is there a second? I will second that motion. Motion has been made and second to approve the April 20th monthly meeting with one correction. Is there any further discussion? If there is none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the April 20th monthly meeting minutes with one correction, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion's carried. We will now discuss the Board of Audit, which is on page 5 and 6, I believe. just 5? No, 5 and 6. Any discussion, any corrections, questions?
I make a motion to approve the annual Board of Audit meeting minutes.
Motion has been made to accept the Board of Audit meeting minutes. There's a second to that motion.
I'd second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to accept the Board of Audit meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. We will now go to open forum. Is there anybody wish to speak to the open forum? If there is no interest in open forum, we will close the open forum and move on to the clerk treasurer report.
Thank you very much. A note before I get to the financials, Chris Berg from Mille Lacs County Land Services called. He wants to reserve this room for a public meeting on County Ditch number 2 on Thursday, July 24th, beginning at 6 p.m. I don't know what it requires, whether it requires a motion or he wants to have a public meeting here on County Ditch 2. I think it's more convenient than having it at the county. It's closer to people in the area.
I believe there's something in the township monthly or whatever paper that came out today about that says that it's pretty much because this is a public place that it's an appropriate, very appropriate use of the building.
What was the date?
It's Thursday, I say July, June 24th. June 24th.
June 24th is a Thursday.
Yeah, June 24th. I wrote July, meant June. Yeah, June 24th. So, I mean, obviously he has to get an answer. I don't know whether it requires board approval, or we just collect a fee, or we don't collect a fee. I
don't think we have a fee statement on that.
No, I mean, the only thing that would even come close to qualifying, I guess, would be special meeting, but I don't think that applies to Mille Lacs County.
Well, if we don't have a quorum, and I don't think the county is planning on having a quorum.
Pardon me?
As long as we're not going to have a quorum, and I'm sure the county board won't have a quorum on it. I would guess that it doesn't qualify as a special meeting.
Okay,
It would just be basically an inconvenience for you to have to deal with public.
yeah. Well, I was thinking of handing it off to Kenny. No, but between the two of us, we'd have to come out, be here during that time, but I don't know, do you think it requires a motion, or we just?
Can't hurt.
And it wouldn't hurt to have give them a little bit of a bill just for.
Yeah, they said they'd be happy to pay for the time, to compensate for additional staffing. So, we charge them.
Did they give an idea when, a time of the day?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
is when they want to have it available, and we're hoping they could wrap it up by 9, but apparently there's a committee meeting that follows it, so it's a little bit indeterminate right now.
So if we were to say 4 hours, and Kenny's going rate,
Can't afford him.
Times 2. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, that, you know, make it just $100 or something. I mean, he's perfectly willing to pay that.
If someone wishes to make that a motion that we grant them use of the building for $100 for that date.
I make a motion that we grant Mille Lacs County, Chrisburg, access to the building from 6 PM to 9 PM for a fee of $100 on June 24th.
Motion has been made to allow Chrisburg County to have a meeting here on June 24th. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Wilhelm has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to allow Mille Lacs County and Chrisburg to have a county ditch meeting on June 24th, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion's carried.
Okay, second item is just a heads up, if we want to have an ad or try to get a news story in about the continuation meeting to, you know, I think it'd be nice if we could get a news release out or get a story in the paper somehow to keep that word out in front of people. So just something to keep ahead of it, and that should be fairly soon. So I don't know if you want to,
I think we probably need to
I don't know if you want
advertise
to
it.
point somebody to work with me on that and just create a news release on it and see if we can get a story in there.
Was it in our annual newsletter too? Did we have it in there?
Yes,
Okay. I couldn't remember.
but I mean,
But I think legally,
that's more than
we
2
have to
days
post it.
old, so it's not likely to be in front of people's minds.
But I think legally we have to post it
Have
2
to do what?
consecutive weeks. Legally, I think we have to post it 2 consecutive weeks, don't we?
Yes, probably, yeah. I mean, we intend to do that anyway, but I was just thinking something a little more upfront for people to see. If there's a story on the front of the paper, that helps people see it. So. Somebody want to work with me on that?
I think we can probably just basically copy off our previous.
Okay,
Last year, we didn't have one because we did it all on the March meeting.
all
But
right.
if we go back to previous years, we should have kind
Okay,
of a print of it.
fair enough.
Sure, I'll come in and make sure we get it done.
All right, on to the financials. Briefly, the general fund getting balance 98,371.50, receipts of 61,318.10, disbursements of 92,435.15, and an ending balance of 67,254.45. And you're looking for it up there, aren't you? I don't have it, I'm sorry.
And that does not include our
Right, and then there, it shows here the investment balance of 108,767.32 for a total 176,021.77. And then the road and bridge started at $216,30.48. Receipts of 34,590.62. Disbursements of 24,011.92. Ending balance of 226,609.18. So, yeah. And then, the other list, it comes to 19,625.59 total claims. Any questions about any item on that?
Is there any discussion on the claim for approval?
I move to accept the claim for approval.
Motion has been made to accept the claim for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to accept the claim for approval. Is there any further discussion? If there is none, we'll vote on the motion to accept approval of the claims, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried.
Okay, cleanup day. We took in a total of 2505.
This conference will now be recorded. Will now be recorded. Will now be recorded. Will now be recorded.
Anyway, $1,655 for that was cash. Have an idea.
Me?
Are we good?
Yes.
Okay.
It was your fault, John.
Well, I haven't even touched the darn thing. It's doing things by itself.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with this the last month. 1,655 in cash. I have an idea that a good bit of that would have been by card if we were in the 21st century. That's something we might want to consider, being able to take cards, from people. But they came prepared to pay cash, and we didn't run out of change for them, so it all worked out pretty well. The 2505 covered the Mille Lacs disposal part of the bill. That was $2,330. And then in addition to that, the First State tire was $922.50. And that's always going to be a little painful because we take a lot of free tires. And appreciate people finding them in the ditch and bringing them in so we don't have to run out there and do that. That wasn't, all in all, wasn't too bad. We did learn some things about how we need to classify it. We need to update that. And there've been some volunteers from the Planning Commission and other people wanting to work on that. So well before we get around to that time next year, we'll get a group together and revise that fee schedule, because we had a number of things that we just weren't prepared for, as you know, when you were there. And we need to make sure that we know how to classify those in the future. Okay, any questions on that? All good?
Good.
All right. Yeah, we did, just so you know, for audit purposes, we were very conscientious about writing receipts for everyone. And I kept them in this receipts log, so we can always look up who paid what, how much, and how. So. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the zoning administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll take the first two items together because they are interrelated. So I guess the town board is aware of this process in that we have a final plat from David Keppel. We had issues with the zoning. That's why we have a second reading of a rezoning ordinance for 2601 65th Avenue and 2735 65th Avenue from AC, ag conservation, to rural residential. So at the April 20th meeting, you took care of the preliminary plat as well as the first reading. The Planning Commission then looked at the final plat, at their May 3rd meeting and recommended that unanimously. So the process for this is first to rezone the parcel, those two parcels I just mentioned. You'll note that later in the agenda, we have a zoning map correction. As we do more and more research in this area and trying to piece together the history of it, in 2014, the area to the east and to the north of this property was zoned back to AC. We thought it was rural residential, but we're not spot zoning these with this action tonight, and that the area to the south is also rural residential. So we don't have an issue with that. So the first action you should take is to act on ordinance number 2021-3. That's the second reading. Again, taking those two properties to rural residential. And then with the final plat, you'll note that the conditions have been revised in the resolution, the second matter you'll deal with. And Mr. Keppel, the property owner, had some concerns, and we adjusted some of those, added a condition that the driveway that crosses over the unnamed stream will need to be provided with a culvert subject to the approval of the township engineer. It was clear there is a stream that runs through there, and we take care of that with that condition. There's also a $3,600 park dedication fee, and that will be paid once the final plat is signed. So any questions on those two matters? Again, we'd take the rezoning first.
So the first item is the ordinance number 2021-03.
That's correct.
And this would be a second
Reading and approval.
Second reading and final approval.
Yep.
Is there a motion to accept ordinance number 2021-03? And it's, and that packet is like the last page.
Mr. Chair, only one small editorial. It's just 2021-3.
2021.
I don't know why there's a 0 in there, but
Okay.
that can come out.
Is there any discussion on 2021-3? Now I accept the motion to approve ordinance number 2021-3 as shown on in your packet.
I'd make that motion.
Motion has been made. Is there a second to the motion to accept ordinance number 2021-3?
I'd second that.
15 seconds. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote on the motion to rezone 2601 65th Avenue as 2735, 65th Avenue from ag conservation to rural residential. All in favor of that motion to accept that ordinance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. We accept that ordinance number 2021-3. Next item is resolution establishing finding of fact, resolution of the Board of Supervisors at the request by David Keppel for a final plat referred to as the Keppel addition be approved with conditions as shown. Resolution number 2021-14. Is there any further discussion, or is there any discussion, any questions? And that took care of the stream. Everything is
Right. We've got,
is done.
yeah, and I believe Mr. Keppel has talked to Todd McLeod too, and I think they're both good with these conditions and the resolution.
That's correct.
Where
Thanks, Scott.
Where are we on talk about that easement on the north?
That was removed, I think.
You remove the easement on that north 33 feet.
So that is.
So that's not in the
Okay,
conditions.
just clarify that that has been removed. Is there a motion to accept resolution number 2021-14?
I move the resolution 2021-14. I read the whole thing. A resolution establishing finding of fact. Don't need that. Okay.
As long as it's listed as resolution 2021-14. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Mr. Miller seconds that motion. Is there any further discussion on motion to accept resolution number 2021-14? With all the conditions that are shown. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to accept resolution 2021-14? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, the next item on my report is the request by Dan Patnode, representing J&D Ventures for a conditional use permit to allow construction of 2 storage buildings at 6530 Highway 169 North. These would be just east of the Old Log Liquor in Section 6. The storage buildings are proposed to be constructed in 2 phases. The first being the larger building on the north side of the property. Old Log Liquor was built in 2008. Property is zoned commercial industrial district. Many storage buildings are listed specifically as a conditional use permit in that. So that is why we're addressing that. There are site plans within the packet and drainage plans that show the proposal. The setbacks are all within the requirements. Interestingly enough, if we do have easement area between this property and the Betzler property to the north, but a roadway isn't developed, so the front yard is still 169, so the setbacks that he's proposed are appropriate. Todd McLeod has reviewed the proposal, and his comments are found as Exhibit 10. Parking should not be an issue in that there be plenty of space in front of each of the doors for this. We have not seen detailed plans like signage, lighting, fencing at this point, but all those are subject to staff review if he does propose that with the building permit. One thing I would like to note that because Dan is not going to construct the second building right away, that we've given him an extended time period to build that second building, so he doesn't have to come back. Unless his plans change drastically, then he could, but it should come back. But that is not the plan now. The ordinance calls for he needs to build within 1 year. We're giving him 3 years on this. So with that, there's a resolution in your packet, resolution number 2021-13, that lists the conditions that were recommended by the Planning Commission. Any questions on this one? And Dan is here tonight, so.
Yeah, I have it as 2021-10.
That's what I have.
Yeah,
That's the one that you said was.
that's the one that was hanging in limbo. So yeah, it's been renumbered to 13. I had to go through and renumber these if we had one that was lurking out there.
Okay, just so everybody knows, so we're all operating on the same information. It's 2021-13. Is there any discussion?
I had mentioned to Craig earlier, there's just some local people that live on 100th or in that area, and they just wanted to make sure that we do our due diligence with water, making sure that there's nothing more coming to the east. Evidently, they're concerned that 100th, there's a pond just to the northeast of this property that they're concerned about flooding and Greg said that they addressed that issue.
Yeah, we are preparing additional calculations to make sure post-development runoff is less or the same as pre-development runoff. So we'll provide that information to Todd McLeod so you can review it to make sure that's accurate.
Thank you. Any further discussion? And your plan now is to go north-south with the buildings, or you're going east-west?
East-west.
Okay, because that was the
Yep,
day we met, we talked
Yep.
about two possibilities. Okay,
yep, absolutely.
sounds like a super plan. Is there any further discussion? Now, I'd entertain a motion to grant request, resolution number 2021-13.
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made to pass resolution number 2021-13, establishing finding of fact resolution of the Board of Supervisors, request of Van Patno of J&D Ventures for conditional use permit to allow for construction of storage buildings at 6530 Highway 169. Be approved with the conditions that you see in front of you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and second. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Resolution 2021-13. If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried.
Mr. Chair, the next item is a request from Jeffrey and Carrie Kerfeld for a side yard setback variance. This is a property is described as Lot 4, Block 1, Rolling Meadows at 2749 62nd Avenue. Applicants had originally proposed a setback of 25 feet from the south property line. The property is zoned rural residential, requiring a 35-foot setback. The Planning Commission discussed this at some length, and we're concerned about the size of the building in relationship to the house, and recommended the size of the garage be reduced, and that the setback of 35 feet be met. Some of the members had expressed, comfort level with a 30-foot side yard setback as opposed to 35 feet. So the Kerfelds have presented a revised plan that was in front of you tonight. They are going to reduce the size of that building from 32 feet wide to 28 feet wide, but still keep the 50-foot depth. Interesting enough, in looking at this particular variance, the lot is, they put the house right smack in the middle of it. So whether you go on the south side or the north side, it doesn't make a difference as far as setback. They're going to run into issues with these structures. Just behind where they're proposing the structure is their septic field. So they can't move into that. On the north side, they could move it back, except there's a grove of trees, and they don't want to take down a grove of trees. So there are some limitations on this lot for that garage construction. But that is what at least has transpired since the Planning Commission, that they have cut down the width of that building by 4 feet, but they still need a variance of 5 feet, and this resulting in a setback of 30 feet. I kept that open in the report. We had talked to the Kerfelds, but I didn't get a plan until after the report was done, so I left some blanks in the resolution and the report, anticipating that's what they're going to do, but didn't have confirmation of that. So, any questions on this one?
I guess my question is, do we go forward with the revision, or do we send it back to the Planning Commission?
Well, as I said, there's many Planning Commission members that were comfortable with the 30-foot. Yeah. So,
Can we address the board?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Just the way our lot is, it's narrow at the front and it's wide towards the rear. So actually, that 5-foot variance is only gonna be, and I know we're over, but it's only like 10 or 12 feet. As it gets wider, we don't we won't be with the variance there.
Yeah.
And we, like I said, the planning commission, we spoke to our neighbor to the south of us, who this would impact the most, and he was totally fine with it. We have a great relationship in the neighborhood. We just have a camper we wanna put indoors. We kinda need the length with the other toys and stuff that we have and kids coming of age and driving. We wanna keep the neighborhood looking nice and keep our things indoors. So we'd appreciate the consideration. Thanks for your time.
Any discussion, questions, comments?
The only comment I have to say is I'm kind of surprised with some of these smaller lots that we don't have any ordinances to the size of buildings people can put up. Most townships, cities, they're smaller lots. Most of them, as big as you can go, is 1,200 square foot. I think maybe if we're gonna be seeing developing going on in our township and stuff, we maybe want to address this here in the near future of maybe looking at what some of our other neighbors are doing, because maybe we don't want to be seeing 1,500 square foot pole barns getting put up everywhere. Just a thought on that. I mean, I see what he's doing here, I understand it. I mean, they were concerned, the planning commission was concerned about the height of the building, but obviously he's got a camper and it's got an AC unit on it, he needs a 14-foot tall door to get it in.
I can get by with 12, Dan.
Okay.
So I'm doing my best to minimize what I can, and our building is gonna match our house to a T.
Yep.
So everything will look the same.
Is this a pole barn or?
No, it's gonna be stick built.
Okay.
I mean, same siding as our house, everything's gonna match.
Okay.
Sphinx shingles, everything.
Okay.
And I guess just to add to that, and the biggest reason too as well, is we can add on to our driveway versus trying to put a second approach in and then having two approaches on one property.
Yep.
And
I like the fact that you're siding it to match your house.
Oh, and that's-
something we maybe want
like
to look
it.
at too is, we just got 25, 30 houses that were just built. I mean, if we did something where they can only be X amount of square footage and the siding has to match the house, I mean, I think it looks nice if it's a little bit more expensive, but it also keeps it a little bit more eye appealing versus the 11% off buildings that everybody sees.
I know Greenbush has an issue where somebody built along Ran 95 and they had to match and they couldn't be match siding and they couldn't be more than so many square feet compared to the house.
Right, we talked about this at the planning commission, Dan was there, and I think, with your blessing, we'll have the planning commission take a look at that. In terms of, maybe it's a scaled approach that if you got a lot, a number of acres, not an issue, but when we get into these smaller lots, we got a lot of 1 acre lots, then maybe we still allow for them and maybe even a narrower setback, and then a limit on the size of the structure. So, again, we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, and you did mention the setback. I think on some of these smaller lots, the 35-foot setback just seems.
Yeah.
Well, even on a 2.5 acre lot, I mean, you're losing 70 feet of your land and you're paying taxes on it and you can't do anything.
Can't use
with
it. Yeah, that's very
So,
true.
I mean,
I think some of the neighboring townships are at 10 feet, maybe
They
for
are.
accessory buildings.
Yep.
So, we could take a look at that.
Any more discussion? If there's desire, somebody can make a motion to accept
What's the resolution?
resolution number 2021
16. And then whoever makes the motion, if you, are comfortable with that, 28 feet and the side yard setback variance of 5 feet, make sure you make that in your motion.
So if we're looking at resolution number 2021-16, it has whereas Princeton Township, and then the next line says a variance for put in their 30 foot.
28.
28 foot wide
Well,
building.
the building would be
No.
20,
The side
28
yard
feet.
setback is 30 foot, right?
Yep. I would make the motion to approve resolution number 2021-16 with a 30-foot side setback and allow for a 28-foot wide building.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to allow 2021-16 resolution as establishing finding fact, resolution of the board that the request by Jeffrey and Terry Sturfeld for side setback variance to allow construction of a garage at 2749 62nd Avenue be accepted with conditions that we have gone through. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote on that resolution number 2021-16. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion is carried.
And I'll correct the resolution.
East property line, that's actually the south.
South property line, okay. Got it, thanks. And one thing, I don't know if we need a motion on that, but the town board is comfortable with me working with the planning commission on that issue. Again, you can make it a motion if you want, but.
I don't think we have to make it a motion.
Okay, sounds good.
I'd like to make a motion because I've been caught in this before.
Oh,
For spending money without having a motion. I'd make a motion that the planning commission move forward with making those corrections. Research.
Sounds good.
I'd second that.
Motion has been made and seconded that the planning company work with the planning commission to look at side setbacks or all setbacks, I would think. And size. Structures, is that an appropriate way?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Motion has been made and seconded that we have the planning commission work on side setbacks, on setbacks and size structures for various lots. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion is carried.
Who seconded
I
that?
did.
Ted did, okay.
Yeah.
The next one, I'm just going to roll through these, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind. A request by Ramey Harold representing Wright Auto Incorporated for a conditional use permit to allow vehicle sales dealership north of Old Log Liquor on Highway 169. So this is a application again for a CUP conditional use permit. It's the shared driveway for these properties comes into Old Log Liquor to the north. The Betzler property was administratively subdivided earlier this year, and a new parcel was created referred to as Parcel B. It's just in that southwest corner of that property to the north of Old Log Liquor. The Planning Commission looked at this conditional use permit and recommended approval of it. The Wright Auto, Ramey and his business partner have presented a business plan. They're constructing a 30 by 64 foot building and outdoor sales area that'll be paved with asphalt. Within the building, 630 square feet of his office with about a 1,500 square foot shop with 3 service stores. Applicant has indicated they're not going to do auto repair out of that. They'll just do detailing and get cars ready for sale. And there's some conditions on that that I'll discuss a little bit. Access for the site will tie into the driveway from 169, as I said, that serves Old Log Liquor. Because MnDOT was part of the notice area for this, I did get a comment finally today from MnDOT saying that they do not have an issue with this, that the fact that there's no new access created, it's just a shared access. Their committee looked at it and had no concerns. So that was positive. Pretty straightforward. More than adequate parking space. Todd McLeod has provided his comments in a letter related primarily to drainage and wetlands. So all those plans are subject to review and approval of the township engineer. And then his conditions he listed in his report become a condition of this report. No plan yet for signage that would need to be approved. There is a lighting plan that was favorable, And again, pretty straightforward request. There's a fairly long list of conditions, 14 conditions on the recommended approval. And I was going to say, number one of the conditions says amended conditional use permit shall be required for any expansion of use to include minor vehicle service such as oil changes or if new buildings or structures are added. Planning Commission wanted to be pretty specific with that condition, so they added that language to say, if he wants to go further and do more auto repair, he would have to come back and just check with the town board on that. So that's in those conditions. And you guys have indicated you're not interested at this time in doing any type of service. So with that,
Good.
resolution 12.
My question on that one would be, they have a vehicle and they realize that a light bulb is out. I mean, according to this, we're kind of tying their hands.
We're tying their hands. I guess it gets to the
Common
point.
sense, but-
It gets to the point where if we get complaints from the neighbors that they're operating, they're noticing a lot of service, whatever.
That's not our
then we get
intention.
to
No, I don't. There's enough service shops around town. I don't.
No, but I just mean,
I understand.
You're not going.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
Yeah, he's looking for
change the light bulb and then have somebody say, oh, you lose your.
Just close the garage doors when you change the light bulb. No one's going to know the difference.
Okay. No, I'm with you.
I think the biggest concern here is that we don't have waste oil and stuff like that. And
Right.
That's not our intention.
And there's conditions in the approvals you'll see related to noise and storage and so forth. There's neighbors behind there that were concerned and with that sort of thing. So we've added the conditions.
I have a question, number 13. No outdoor storage of auto parts, cars, or unlicensed vehicles. I think unlicensed vehicles should be stricken from that because if they're buying fleet vehicles that are running fleet reg, they're not gonna have license plates on them. They're coming from out of state, some of that stuff's not gonna have plates on it.
So they may not have plates, but doesn't there have to be some sort of temporary permit on them?
Only until they sell it. And once it's
Only
on
until
the-
they sell it.
Yep.
Okay,
So I
Fair enough.
think that should be stricken out of there.
okay. I thought everything had to have some sort of licensing on it.
No, not if it's like, XL Energy, I mean, they're all.
So it's
fleet
coming in
cars.
on a trailer and
Yep.
it didn't need to be on the road,
They're
sure.
wash and they're hauling it up or they're putting
Gotcha.
their dealer in transit plate or whatever on it, and getting it to their lot. When they sell it, they put their 21-day permit on it. That magical paper that doesn't fly off.
I agree that's, again, we have to use some common sense, but just like what I said. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, I accept the motion to grant.
I don't know if I need to mention, as far as the drainage goes, I had talked to Chris earlier, and I'm sure you know what's going on there. We were kind of under the impression that we were under an acre of disturbed soils there wouldn't be need for drainage. I think, Scott, you talked to Chris about that today. I think he said, is he on the?
Oh,
He's on the call. He said he'd be on the call in case if we had any questions for him, but he said just that we were working on something for us as far as how detailed that.
Oh, Chris from,
Yep.
yeah.
It's similar to the previous one for data. We're gonna provide Todd qualification additional company.
Todd is on.
Yeah.
No, Todd is on.
So I don't know if it's worth mentioning or not.
Oh,
just,
good, thank you. Yeah, I didn't talk to him today, so. Good.
Is there any further questions, concerns, discussion? If not, I entertain a motion to approve resolution 2021-12. Correct?
12.
12.
Yeah, it's 12.
12 is correct,
Yeah.
okay.
No,
With that,
I do have a question. I'm looking at the site plan for this one here. So you're developed, why is there, were you just using the same site plan? for-
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right, because yours,
We're
You guys are the
literally,
same.
yeah, we're literally just this.
your property was up here.
Correct. Correct.
And this is included in this.
Yeah, there's that, we'll have to firm that up a little bit and I guess maybe
You were just
Right,
using the same
better-
site plan for both?
correct.
Well, you got the-
Yeah, he's asking about
There are two site plans there, one for each site. But
Well, I just
basically,
see the future
See how-
development.
Dan's got
Okay.
up in our property here, he's asking about that.
yeah, so they're kind of designed at once, so at least they work together.
So this is for the water.
Obviously.
The water runoff, and they also, they're gonna have an agreement or easement, whatever it takes to work together to get this done. So,
If it hasn't already been sent to Metro, I can't with this one. Sorry. Any, was there a question? I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if the site plans seem to overlap. Specific-
They were just, yeah.
That was one for drain, yeah.
I'm sorry, I was in a different conversation. Did you guys finish up?
I thought we let them.
Okay.
Give them a chance
Okay.
to review. So Doug, did you aware of what?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So, just get your plan and submit it.
Can you hear?
Building plan.
I thought the plan would probably submitted, but there's so many that can't. We'll talk about tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Are you ready, Doug?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-12 with amending line 13 and removing unlicensed vehicles.
motion has been made.
Number 12,
We're there right now, so we're on
yes. And then it was line 13 that I want to have unlicensed vehicles.
Motion has been made to accept resolution number 2021-12. Incorporated for conditional use permit to allow for vehicle sales north of Old Log Liquor in section 6 on Highway 169 to be approved with those conditions. Is there a second to that motion?
And second that.
Mr. Hiller made the motion, Mr. Whitcomb second. Is there any further discussion?
I just wanted to clarify that Doug, on line 13, you got that we're getting rid of 4 unlicensed vehicles. Okay.
Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to accept resolution 2021-12, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Request by Shan Sicking.
Yes, so we have a request for a side yard setback variance to allow a garage and house addition at 7692 6th Street North. Shad, I believe is online and can speak to this, but there's this application is a little bit different than the Kerfelds in that they are adding on to an existing house. The lot is only 0.91 acres. Again, a classic example of why we should probably be looking at these ordinances. They are looking at proposing a setback of 20 feet to the east property line. This property is zone R2, again requiring that 35-foot setback. They're looking to allow construction of its 44 by 44 by 34 garage addition to the existing house. The living space above the garage. The house is currently at 45 from the east property line, but the addition will encroach again into that side yard setback. Front of the addition will be 55 feet from the septic mound. Due to the location of the driveway, how the house is currently laid out, this is where the sinking side of the addition would need to go, at least, from the internal flow of the house, it makes the most sense. And there really is another place, again, on this lot, because it's so narrow to add a much of an addition and then run into that setback requirement. Because it is, the lot is only 125 feet wide. They would like to start construction this fall or spring. So again, I've added a condition with the extension of the timeline to begin construction. So again, kind of a unique situation a small lot. They want to do an addition. Planning Commission felt that because they're adding living space, it just wasn't a detached garage or storage. They're actually adding on to their house. That this was practical. So the resolution number is 2021-11 on this one.
I was wondering also, I think Gene brought up at one of the other meetings that because we live in Minnesota and they have no other garage, that this would be considered a hardship. So
That's a
that
good
would be
point.
another
Yes, they do
additional-
not have another. Yeah.
I guess a question, a concern I have on this, to define living space. Are we doing a man cave? Are we doing a rec room? Are we adding bedrooms and bathrooms where all of a sudden we're gonna be needing to add on to our septic system?
Yeah, it's my understanding that it's bedrooms, but Chad can address that if you can hear us. And
Yeah, so we're going to be adding a second living space, 2 bedrooms, and 1 master bath to our existing 2 baths that we currently have.
Your access is gonna come from, you're gonna add to a hallway from the existing house into that, or I would assume, correct?
Yeah, currently there's like kind of a wide bedroom office off our master that will transition into the hallway into the new living space with bedrooms kind of on the back side of the addition, the north side.
Okay. And you guys have checked, I mean, your current drain field in that is of adequate size where if you're adding bedrooms and stuff, you're not gonna have adding on to that?
We're going to be adding 1 bath, and that's definitely something we can work with our contractor who we have bidding it right now, if there's a concern taking care of that as well.
That would be my only concern, is we gotta add on to the septic system, and we're getting, I mean, it's a brand new system.
And I don't know, sorry, I don't know much about septic systems or anything. It is pretty much brand new, so I don't know what the rules are or anything like that. But when we bought it 4 years ago, it was put in the fall before we bought it. So I would think it's, at least it's not an old one that, I'm assuming it was built maybe with intention of a family living there because the previous owner had addition plans drawn up similar to what we plan on doing.
It seemed like I remember when I met with you, you had a more of an outline of what you were going to do with the 2 stories. At the bottom, you had laid out the garage sizes, the spacings, and then upstairs you had the bedrooms, and then you also had a basketball court built on.
Yeah, so yeah, on the back side of the garage, it would be basically 2 stories clear. We'd like to put an indoor hoop, kind of multi-purpose court, volleyball. We've got 3 kids who are all pretty active, just to give them somewhere to work on it during the winter months.
And also, if you look at the map, you notice that their neighbor has a garage that's about 4 feet or 5 feet from their driveway. So it's kind of imposing on their site. But not that it's affecting what they're doing, but it's kind of like there's already they've been violated by somebody. I don't think your next door neighbor is gonna come out with a ruler and say that you're 20 feet 6 inches or something. So I guess I would like to see it approved. Is there a motion to that effect? It's resolution number 2021-11.
Kind of sounds like you just made the motion.
Well, I guess they won't make the motion then.
I'd second it.
Who seconded it? Bill, okay. Yeah, motion has been made and seconded to grant a resolution establishing findings of fact resolution of Board of Supervisors request by Shad and Megan signaling for the side yard setback variance to allow construction of a house addition to 7692 6th Street North be approved with conditions, and it would give a variance of a 20-foot side setback, the side yard setback. Is there any further discussion?
Other than like, well, we've already passed it, but I think we definitely need to look at our side setbacks and also what size structures we want done, maybe on some of these smaller lots to get that kind of needs a little bit of addressing, I think. So other than that, I'm fine with it.
Is there any further discussion? What questions, statements? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, 2021-12, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried.
Mr. Chair, the next item is a zoning map correction in section 26. I mentioned this earlier, but it's the area surrounding the Kerrfield. I gotta keep my projects straight. There's been a few of them this last month. This probably gives a good. I guess you have the aerial photograph that shows the PID number 16-026-0400 that surrounds that property. In 2014, the Board of Supervisors approved this from rural residential to AC. That wasn't caught because when we looked at this earlier, because the other properties were rezoned in November of 2015. So they did this one first. Planning Commission apparently did a little bit more research, and then they did the other areas, including the Keppel property in 15. So in order to correct the zoning map, I thought we should do a resolution similar to what we had done previously, just to make it clear in the record that we're correcting the zoning map and this particular item. It's already been done, but we just have to correct the map.
I just had a question or comment. I know the talk of spot zoning. I mean, this looks like it was spot zoned back in 2014. One parcel was switched.
There was a specific petition by Ellen Schmidt and Marcia Hoppenschau to have that rezoned back to ag conservation. I believe at that time across the road was still ag conservation, so it was not spot zoning. That was granted in July of 2014. We didn't realize it until we pulled the PID and all that paperwork was attached to PID 20 or 400. And that's why
I'm just curious.
last month when there was Stephanie Johnson and whoever, we're wondering why that wasn't included. That had already been done previously, so when they gave a list of ones that were changed in 2015, that wasn't included on the list because it had already been done previously.
Okay. And there was a little confusion because I think I saw a map that was highlighted in marker that included part of it, which was kind of redundant. So, well, I just wanted to make sure that how spot zoning is actually defined, because I guess I would have thought that sounds like a spot zoning, but it's not.
Well, the property to the north would have been all AC anyway. So.
122, across 122.
So spot
Across
zoning
122
would be considered anything doesn't have something contiguous.
Yeah, if you're out in the middle
touching
of
it.
the ag conservation district and someone wants to put a commercial district, that's a spot zone. But yeah, as long as they're contiguous and it makes some sense.
Because I know Dan brought this up at one of the last meetings. I mean, there's people to the east or to the west that may be like, well, hey, we got some residential going in here now. Let's talk about rezoning ours.
And I wouldn't doubt that we'll be asked by maybe eventually some of those property owners to the west and we'll just have to take a look at it. We should probably look at that in terms of, it's interesting, when you adopted the comprehensive plan last fall, we designated, it according to that wrong zoning map. So these areas are designated long-term for rural residential. So we may, again, want to look at that. So whatever we're doing, we're consistent with what was done. And this is a resolution 2021-15.
Any further discussion on the resolution and approving the corrected 2021 zoning map?
Well, now I don't see that the Keppel property isn't on here. That still shows as A.
Right, because,
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
it's just,
so it's going to have to be a change again, process to make sure that,
so this 2021 map is gonna be 2021 B or C or D?
well, I asked Todd that we should probably date it as with the
Okay.
tonight's date, yeah.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to have a little bit better,
Yeah.
historical what happened.
It should, yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, I entertain a motion to approve resolution 2021-15.
So moved.
Mr. Wickham, or Mr. Hiller made motion,
I'd second that.
Mr. Wickham seconds it. Is there any further discussion on the zoning map correction? If there is none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of 2021-15? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, it's Todd.
Yes, sir.
Say, Scott, can you send me copies of all those, your reports and all those conditions for all three of those?
Yeah, certainly.
So they got a copy of those, thanks.
And we'll probably talk tomorrow. Again, we're gonna have to do one more change. Now with this action, make sure that we update that zoning map and date it as of today's date. So we have that.
That's good.
Sounds good. Thank you.
If that is all for our zoning administrator's report, we move on to old business. First item is to reconsider motion to charge for damages to 105th Avenue. Last month, we made a motion to send a bill to Wilhelm Farm and Shelley Farm for damages to the road, which to me is pretty improper because we don't have proof that they're the ones that did the damage. After talking to the people on that road, it seems like more a neighbor dispute. So I will move to rescind the motion to charge for damages to 105th Avenue. Is there a second to that motion to rescind the previous motion?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to rescind the motion to charge for damages to 105th Avenue. Is there any further discussion?
Well, the only discussion I'd like to have on it is just, in the future, how do we handle situations like this? Where,
Well, if we're going to act on something like that, I think we'd have to probably get at least our engineer, or probably enough of the board members out there to that we could say absolutely positively that it was somebody that damaged the road to that point, rather than saying, well, we're going to charge each of them, and then especially when we talked to Mrs. Wolf, and her response was, well, because she's renting to Shelley's had nothing to do with it. It was all Wilhelm's. And we can't prove that it was all the ones, it was all Shelley's or it was half and half. And without having proven something as it was happening, I don't think we have a right to send a bill.
Well, and I'm not, maybe we should just stick to I was thinking other areas, maybe not this area specifically, but other areas of the township. You know, it's spring, we got spring thaw coming and those types of things, and, we'll just have to wait, deal with them one-on-one as they come up.
Yeah, I think if there's a situation, I think we have to get out and
Assess
get
it.
enough proof that we can have no question about it. John, you're saying?
Well, I think what we did last month was foolish because we didn't assess it together. It was one.
Well, we can't assess it together because then it's a quorum.
The motion has been made and seconded to rescind the motion from last month to charge for damages to Untitled Avenue. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to rescind the previous motion to charge damages for 105th Avenue, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no.
No.
Motion is carried. Second reading of home occupation ordinance amendments.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is something at your April meeting you held first reading, and this would be second reading and approval of this, just simplifying, streamlining a bit the home occupation section and providing for some of this to be done administratively. So again, it's just a second reading and approval of the same ordinance that you saw at your April meeting.
I guess it doesn't have a title, but if you look at page 1 on the bottom, it says move to waive second reading and approve the amendments to the zoning ordinance section 300-143, allowing permitted home occupations with administrative review and special home occupations with IUP. Language as found in the amending ordinance. And entertain a motion to that effect.
I move the motion to accept ordinance number 2021-4. That's one we're on, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, there is an ordinance number, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, ordinance number 2021-0, dash just plain not over. Is there a second? Is there a second to that motion to accept ordinance number 2021-4?
I'll make that motion. Or second that, sorry.
Mr. Hiller has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? And we still would have jurisdiction over anything. It's just a matter of if somebody comes in and they just have a Avon or whatever,
Right.
Get an IUP, they don't have to go through the whole formal process.
Right, your wife's business is a classic example, just someone working out of the house.
Okay.
Yeah, which we all are now.
Is there any further discussion?
What is classified as a home business? Now, you have contractors that have their stuff that they park at their house. They don't work out of their house, but they have equipment there that they go to their job site. Is that considered something where they need to come in for a conditional use permit, or are they not?
There's a clarification the planning commission made on that. So requirements for permitted home occupations, those are the ones administratively done. So if you have equipment, you can still do your equipment and so forth and store it at that location. The main thing is if you've got employees coming and working out there, you have customers coming, that's really what pushes you to the special, or it would be the special home occupation. anything that's going to create, some neighborhood issues where you got more traffic and so forth, that, and that's currently what you would require anyway, a conditional use permit or an interim use permit.
If somebody's continuously parking their construction equipment on the road and narrowing the road, they're probably going to get,
Right.
somebody's gonna complain.
Zoning administrator is going to, have to come down on.
Is there any further discussion on ordinance number 2021-4?
Just to make sure we're super clear, because being that I've been around a lot of these, I don't know if you've noticed, but your wives have parties. Would that then deem them no longer, cause like, Tupperware, Mary Kay, all them have big parties that like 30 people come to. Would that then take it out of?
Typically, with cities that do this a lot are just going to look the other way with that, because they're, not a continuous, people coming and going. They're kind of a special event, no different than a party that you would have at your house. So typically that isn't an issue. Unless someone has, an Avon party every night of the week, then, but that just doesn't happen. They're so infrequent. Yeah, to drink wine. But it's a good point. It's a really good point.
Any further discussion to ordinance number 2021-4? If there is none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to accept ordinance number 2021-4, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried.
Mr. Chair, if possible, do you guys need me anymore tonight? I got a busy day tomorrow, an early day tomorrow. So if there's no other questions for me, I may just head out.
Just real quick, there's nothing you need to deal with on the grass drags.
No, not sure. So
That's fine.
Okay, appreciate it. I do really want to stick around for the road report, but, Thank you. Can I listen to it on the radio?
The one thing I believe we're still missing on our budget is what our expected balance is at the beginning or at the end of 2021. Because we're going deficit spending on both. Do we know what our expected balance is going to be at the end of 2021?
Do I?
Do we?
I'm supposed to.
I mean, based on what we budgeted for 2021 and what we've actually taken in.
The roads are gonna be real, we're gonna be a little under what we had last year for roads, so that'll be good.
So our expected balances our balances at the beginning of 2021 were 206,000 for general and 216,000 for road and bridge. Is our anticipated balance is going to be closer than, I think our road and bridge was supposed to be.
That's a lot of what we're gonna be actually getting in, but for our 21. Yeah, because we'll be doing Brickton, that's gonna be within, 60,000 what we had planned. We're gonna be talking about our chip sealing and crack filling. That we're gonna be a little, if we do what I'm gonna be explaining here in a little bit, we'll be coming in under there. So I don't see why our road isn't gonna be over what we had budgeted last year.
Because our actual budget for 2021 is showing 216,000 expenses and 216,000 income. So we were like $800 deficit spending limit of the 2021 budget.
I don't have it right here, but I think we're gonna be considerably under that by several thousand.
So the assumption then is going to be that we're going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 216,000 balance at the beginning of 2022.
I think you had it on that yellow, I didn't bring that yellow sheet of paper. I think you had 223,000.
Okay. So as we're dealing with just strictly road and bridge. The proposal right now for road and bridge for 2022 is that we would levy $265,000. And that's what you came up with as that we would need. I think I had 237 and that didn't, because we had 14 years without raising a levy. I think you came back with the idea that we had to go up to 265.
No, I'm on a different summit.
And that way we're proposing 265,000 for the road and bridge levy for 2022, right?
Well, that's the proposal. I mean, that's far short of what we need.
Right. So we did it. And then with the gas tax refund and fuel tax or we call escrow, which basically is a wash. We're looking at 298 plus 216, or excuse me, 223 expected surplus. We're looking at $521,000 as a, would you say, available funds? If I'm following this right? Is that correct? You're saying the end of this year, we should be at 223,000 budget or balance?
Well, it looks like I have here existing balance 213,397.
That's the anticipated balance.
That's what we had, yeah.
Okay. So 213, and so we're gonna get about $511,000 available funds. We are looking at spending 415,000. And that.
Yeah, 415, yep.
415,300, which would give us, take us down to about $96,000 balance.
In which total?
Road and bridge.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Is that where?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're really stepping up our road maintenance, and we're still able to keep our heads above water with if we go to the 265,000 levy. Is there any question about income or expenses on road and bridge? And just,
I can run through this if you'd like.
Okay.
Kind of what I had on here for road and bridge. Doug, if you could give me, have the screen, please. And a lot of this was something that I shared back at I think the March meeting or February meeting. So it's just pulled onto this.
Here you go.
Okay. see some of this. Yeah, it's not the easiest to see. I'm gonna see if I can expand this a little bit more.
Perfect.
Oh, that's the screen. So, I know we talked about this before, but we're really trying to get CTAS to cooperate with how we're wanting to show things, and it's not easiest. Partly because we have to use something called the codes, and I'll just briefly explain this. It's not that you're gonna catch it all, but we've got a fund number that we have to deal with. We have account numbers and object codes. And the object codes they're not even showing up on a report here because it only is gonna show our account numbers. So what we've tried to do is, instead of having all of the road stuff on one account number, we've got it split up into 3 account numbers. We got the paved streets number, which is the 43-121, and we have unpaved streets, which is of course anything that's not paved, the 43-122, and then we have another one that it's both paved and unpaved, and that's for things like ditch mowing, because we mow both the gravel and the paved roads, any road the brushing, any motor fuels, tree trimming, that type of thing is gonna be under both, and then any sign repair, replacement, also is gonna show up under the both paved and unpaved. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this. So when we try to set a report out showing what we're gonna be using for gravel or for dust control, we can't show that because we haven't charged anything to it yet. We can show you what we did in 21, but we can't really show what we did in 2020, what we're going to do in 2022. If you're following me here. So what we're trying to show is, I'm kind of keeping track of this on a separate spreadsheet. So if you look right on the screen in front of you now, what we have for grading contract is 23,000. We've also have wages and salaries, and this is for everything. That orange, anything that's the orange color coded is the both paved and unpaved streets. So that would be any wages for snow, for mowing the ditches, tree trimming, those types of things. We also have here gravel. Gravel shows up under just the gravel unpaved roads, because it's only an unpaved road for $40,000. This isn't correct here. 22 is 15,000. And then we've got repair, maintenance, supplies, signs, that's $2,500. Then we've got other things in here for materials for ditch mowing, which would be for saw blades or whatever we need to keep that up. And then the tree trimming also, brushing, tree trimming, we got $1,000 total. And then as we move down, we see pothole repair at 3,000, crack sealing at 15,000 for 2022. We've done quite a bit in 21 and 20, so we're kind of getting to that point where we're not going to be doing a lot of crack sealing, because I don't want to have all of our roads crack filled and chip sealed, because they have a 7-year life expectancy, and I'm hoping to get to some of these before that. So I don't want to just be throwing that money away. So we're going to start, working with Todd on this. We'll start kind of pulling back a little bit on the chip sealing and the crack filling, just to be in anticipation of just doing overlays in some of these areas. And then, so that, again, the chip sealing is at 24,000. And then in 2022, we've got a reclaim and pave planned for, there's two locations. Well, one's a reclaim and pave, 40th Street, which is just around the corner from Whitcomb's Nursery. That, as you know, is falling apart all the way out to County Road 10. I think this one right here that goes in front of the town hall, or to the east of town hall. And then also probably like we're doing on Brickton Road on 33rd Street, or 33rd Street up by the Bethel Reformed Church. So that's what the 223 is for. We've got 26,000 planned for the 50th, for the LRIP. And I'll just say this now, I haven't heard anything back on that yet. I don't anticipate anything from that until June sometime. And then engineering fees are in there. And then salt and sand would be at 2,500. And the snow contract, we got at 17,000. And then there's miscellaneous road equipment supplies for broken windshields and stuff like that. So that's where the road and bridge budget's at. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to see on that thing. And like I had said earlier, all the information that's been on this other working document that I utilize, this is how I'm kind of tracking it. And again, the disclaimer is this is just for a budgeting and tracking tool only. CTAS is where the actual budget information is kept. So as we're working through these things, any chip sealing, that all rolls up into the top here. So that's where we're at with the road budget.
Okay. So if we were to follow and do the complete job on the 40th and 33rd, and 33rd we would be doing with the city because it's paired. We'd end up with a balance theoretically of about $96,000 at the end of 2022. I have a question about one possibility that would change this somewhat would be if we're sitting out here with a road grader that hasn't been moved in 2 years. Is it possible to bring up at the annual meeting the possibility of selling that? Is it worth,
So definitely potential. I mean,
is it worth enough to sell, or is it just maybe?
Well, my thought is if we're going to use it, we're gonna need to spend more money to get, we're gonna need to spend some money on a packer. Otherwise, we're just loosening up the gravel and then it's just turning the washboard within 3 days. Or, a lot of it, I don't mean to be so, it's just, everything is contingent on the weather. So, I mean, if we get rain every 3 days, it would be great, or not every 3 days, but once a week, get a half inch once a week would be great, but it's a lot of it's dependent on the weather.
I think we've had so much satisfaction with the job that Haas Construction has done that unless we're going to be worried that they're going to say, no, we're not doing it anymore, and all of a sudden we don't have equipment to maintain it. We have to go buy one, but otherwise, to me, it's just an old piece of iron that's sitting out there that's maintenance just to keep it in place. The tires are gonna rot away, the battery's gonna wear down, and it's not doing the township any good if we don't ever move it out of the shed.
So that's something you'd like to, as like something to propose to is that something we want to decide, or we want to ask the resident, or at the annual meeting?
Bring it up at the annual meeting. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's, if we are gonna bring it up, I think the annual meeting's the perfect place to do it.
Right now, what, it hasn't moved along?
Well, it moved, but it hasn't moved productively. I mean, it moved from the parking lot back inside, but that's probably 2 years. But there was a lot of money put into it in the last 5 years as far as transmission and the engine, and there was a lot of and new tires
And what's
all
that
the way
thing
around.
worth? Only
It's
17
in pretty
grand?
good shape.
I think somebody told me it's between right around 25 maybe.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
And how much money have we stuck in it in the last 5-7 years?
I don't know those figures, but I know it was put into it to be a usable piece of equipment, that they weren't going to just Band-Aid it. It was gonna be done right, and the work was done right. The Caterpillar was right here doing the work in the garage on it.
So are we talking north of 35,000?
I wouldn't know. I didn't
No,
have access to
no.
any of those figures.
That we spent on.
I had the numbers, I used to have them, I took them off.
I know, it was,
I think it's 20, I'm not gonna say for sure.
it seemed like it was around 12,000 a year, but I sure could be wrong.
And what would it cost to put a packer on it? These are all things that we should have.
30,000 from what I hear.
That's for one that's,
That's decent. If you buy, I've heard you can get some for 10, then you're gonna have to put new tires and bearings in it, but then, you know, you have to put another.
I'm just bringing it up as a possibility. It's up to you guys.
I guess my question would be, did we go to an annual meeting to talk about getting rid of the rusted old trucks?
I would say that would be a board action there. I mean, that's not really, that's kind of what our jobs are, is if we're not using it, to utilize it. I mean, that's.
See, I would agree with that, because we know if you go to the annual meeting, which is fine, but you're gonna open the door open on about 4 different individuals that are gonna hammer you. So that's what you can expect to happen.
Right, and then and that may happen, and we're still not gonna use it.
Okay.
It's just gonna be silly.
You know, and that's like the fire department ordering a new truck. It's not a public opinion. That's we need this, we don't need this anymore. So I don't necessarily think that the road grader is a public opinion. It's a decision that you guys have been elected to make the decisions, just like you make the decision to contract out road grading, snow plowing. I say, my way of thinking is just an operational thing that if we aren't gonna use a road grader, it's gonna rust into a big chunk of junk.
Yeah, that's not gonna be worth anything.
Well, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think the amount of money that we put into it in the last few years, we can go right to the receipts and show what we've put into it. And it's been kept clean, kept out of the weather. So if somebody that is looking for one, is a serious person looking for it, it'd be worth something now to liquidate it and put that money into items that we can use for brushing and different things that we're actually trying to be more actively doing out there, instead of without having an operator for that. And with what Steve Hass is doing, he's doing a nice job. He's got a wider, bigger grader that does what the township folks like him to do.
And the operator is a big thing. You don't just put one of us. I wouldn't even start the thing just because you have no experience and the roads are gonna.
Yep.
You just can't stick somebody in there.
Right.
I would suggest that we think about that till next month, and if we feel, especially if we can get Thomas here too, so we have a full board, we can probably act on it next month. Just think it over. I know we're gonna get some grief for it, but to me, it's.
Nothing like that, what I'm gonna propose next, so.
I think I know what's coming.
All right.
Well, it's gonna be on the road report, so, but I'll just mention it now. We've had 2 people operating the new tractor, and I communicated with both of them, because I don't wanna speak out of turn, but they just, neither one of them feel that it really, the brushing of it, that the tractor really handles it that well, and they don't feel safe. Yeah, if they had to really extend it out there, especially if you're on gravel and if it's a little bit soft, I think Dan, you said you looked up the weight for that thing is like 19,000 pounds, and I think that tractor's like 9,000 pounds, and our tractor is 9,017 pounds, and they added some wheel weights to it. So there's two aspects to it. They just don't feel comfortable, and it's really difficult to maneuver and operate, having that arm out there. It's not like it's just a smooth operation. And I got I think at least 2 or 3 calls last year from people complaining about the mess it makes. And you can't get it close to the ground. These guys have been out now for the last several weeks brushing with just the hand tools. I mean, you can get those things right at the ground. You're not leaving this mangled mess that grows back in a year that looks like a flowering. So I'm just there. You can't really use it in the residential areas because it sends stuff hundreds of feet and we get tons of complaints. We spend more time out there picking up the mess than we do accomplishing anything with it. So that's just that side of it.
I don't know. Is it 90 horse?
110.
I think it's 100.
Yeah, but PTO, it's like, what, 90?
Yeah, probably.
And I know in the newest township magazine, they're advertising, and I think it's a 105 horse John Deere and they can go out as far as 50 feet with a brush chopper.
What? Wow.
Yeah,
those things are really set up to be doing on the opposite side of a guardrail type situation where you have to get over something. And
what about a batwing mower?
And that'd be, well, that's the other thing too about mowing. Dale seems to like that. It does a good job. But the problem is if you're trying to do a slope and then you got the top of it, you got to hit it twice because it doesn't do a double angle. It doesn't do a flat surface in the ditch at the same time.
Well, you can get them, they make different
right.
widths where they hinge, so we can avoid that problem.
This doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I know for a fact that Deere makes a batwing mower that in multiple sizes for mowing ditches. So we have our set ditch, and we could get one for that.
Yeah.
So it's a one pass deal.
Yeah.
You're saving man hours, fuel, that kind of thing.
So that was I just wanted to throw that out there too, since we're talking about that type of stuff.
And we don't have to get a new tractor either. I mean, them 40 series Deers are hard to beat.
Well, and that's the thing is you can lease something for a week for $2,500. Just get it done, lease it again, and every year you get something new to maintain it. So those are just some ideas that just to be thinking about.
But
If
you're
we're
right.
bouncing off ideas, what are we gonna do if we don't get this LRIP money for 50th Avenue? Because somebody's gonna get killed on the goddamn road if we don't do something with it. And it's not a laughing matter.
No.
I mean, I went out there with Bill. I had a chunk of laughing stick in my hand, put my hand all the way up to my shoulder before I got to the bottom of that hole.
Well, that hole that
That's the way it's talking about.
yeah.
Someone's
I think
gonna
you
get
could
killed
bury
on that
something in
road.
that hole without.
I think we put a whole yard of P-rock in there to top that off.
Instead of somebody who was riding a cycle, they would definitely lose it.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Dan, because that's what we have for 2022 is that 223,000, whatever it was. Again, that's assuming we get the LRIP. So that's, so that project on 33rd, that doesn't need to be overlaid necessarily. We could throw some of that money towards, trying to do something with these sinkholes along there, and Todd's on the call, so he and I discussed a lot of this information. I was wanting to possibly pull back on, I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit. Well, let's finish up the discussion on the budget before I get into the road stuff too much more. Is there anything else you want to cover on this?
Is this the proposed, the road and bridge budget as we wish to propose it to? Basically, we set the budget and then the township general at the regular monthly or annual meetings, that's the levy.
Yeah.
So is this the budget that, as we've developed it and as Bill has presented it, is this the budget we wish to for road and bridge? We still have to talk about general, and I think general is probably, there's not a lot of leeway on general. It's kind of, this is what it is, this is what we do.
And you and we went through that few weeks back, the three of us, with the general. I mean, it's really hard with this last couple of years with all the different, how many homes have we brought in the last 2 years? 30? 30?
Probably more than that.
40? And then with all the, trying to get the ordinances and everything figured out, that's been higher than what we would normally spend just for the zoning. But I thought we had a pretty good handle on the general side of things, didn't you, Gene?
We're proposing dropping our levy from 100,000 to 60,000 because we're sitting with 206,000 general fund balance at the end of the year, and we're not the bank for the township, so we're proposing dropping the general down to 60,000 for levy. And with all the other things, a lot of those pay for themselves, building permits and driveway permits and escrows and so on. And I think we're doing a better job of keeping track of our escrows than we used to. Because it used to be people would buy something or build in and we charged so much, and then if it went over, it was township's loss. So.
And I know Doug's been he's been setting up separate accounts for each one of those escrows.
That's why our cash control statement looks a little longer than it used to. I guess we put a lot of money into this. If anybody sees anything, we kind of have to approve it tonight because this is what's going to go to the public. So, based on what we have in front of us, can we accept the budget report, accept the budget for 2022 as we have printed? Can I take a motion to that effect? And we're gonna have to do some finagling if we don't get the LRFE, and then we can just shift some of our movement from hold off on 40th or 33rd for a year and then do the most serious parts of 50th. That has to be our next priority, is we gotta get that done in 2022. Is there a motion to accept the two budget statements that we have presented?
And one more comment on that too. I mean, if we have to shift a little money from our chip sealing and crack filling, there's another 50,000. I think it was. $42,000.
Yeah. Comments, questions? So we want to make a change? Up, down, sideways?
I'm fine with it as long as, like we're talking with the road repair. I mean, we've got to do something with 50th. I mean, there's no danger spots on 40th. It's a busted up road, yes, but.
Right, there's nothing like 50th, right?
I mean, and I live on 50th, the tar is busted in front of my house. I'll put that out there right now. I don't care about that, but those sinkholes and those bad spots gotta get fixed or somebody's gonna get killed.
Yeah.
And if that means we can't do these other road projects, if we have that set in our budget this way, we can, if we don't get that LRIP money, we can say, okay, we didn't get that money, now we have to adjust, go the other direction. That's totally kosher.
Yep. Yeah, we're not set to go with the project, we're just setting the monies.
Then I'd make a motion to approve the proposed budget.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second to that motion?
I'd second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to finalize the budget for 2022 as printed on these page 1 through 8, 1 through 7, I think it is. Is there any further discussion? I know we're using some of our reserve funds, and I don't see that we're not the bank for the township. So I think we're still within parameters of safety net and so on. Any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the budget, voting this budget for 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Thank you all. New business, special event permit, temporary liquor license for all grass drags.
This is something that's been going on, looks like for 26 years.
Yep. And it's just a formality, I think.
I'd make a motion to accept the temporary on sale license for Darcy Rylander for Rum River Trails and Associates.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, let's proceed to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion's carried. Road report.
All right, I'll try to fly through this quick. The top half is fairly just standard, just for the status of the protective equipment that was approved at the April meeting. We got 12 cones, 2 roll signs, standard 2 sign stands. Those have been purchased and are now in use. The helmets and the chaps that we talked about, we currently have 1 set, but we'll be purchasing at least 1 more set from MBOC or online for whichever is the best pricing. Gravel roads, chloride's been applied on 50th Street and 17th Street. The remaining road portions that still need to have it applied will be done when conditions are right, and that's typically after we get a little bit of rain. Otherwise, it just doesn't really adhere to the gravel all that well. So once we start getting a little bit of rain, we'll get some more chloride applied to the roads that we discussed at the January or the March meeting, I believe it was. And then the graveling should be completed by mid-June this year. As if you guys remember right, we're right about 3,000 cubic yards and we're focusing on the north half this year. Tree removal and trimming, chipping, we got rid of those 6-inch plus trees and brush that we removed those in those areas where Dan and I went to get permission from the property owners out on Fairlawn Road. Those have been cut down and chipped up and hauled away. Brush cutting and trimming and chipping has been continuing. We got it on 27th Street, 35th, 7th Street, and Ash Avenue. We should consider stump grinding in the neighborhoods. They're just road hazards. Some of them looked like they were hit a few years ago, and then we got stumps and little knobs sticking up, foot up off the ground, so cars will hit them, or kids on bikes, or plow wings, those types of things. So we should, at least in the neighborhoods, anywhere that could be a potential road hazard, we should get rid of those stumps, I feel. After a few more days of brushing and trimming with the current equipment, I've been talking with the guys. We may need to make a determination on what we're going to do for some brushing tools, and we can discuss that at another time but the equipment that we have right now, it's probably one of the smaller tools for putting a steel saw blade on to make the cut, and they have some that are made specifically for brush trimming. So we might want to take a look into something like that. And I already mentioned the boom tractor. The brush hog operators don't feel safe using it for themselves or for the public. Now we're getting to the quotes, and Todd's on the line here, and he and I discussed this a little bit. I'll just this all showed up in your packet. We had 3 companies that we sent out for a quote tabulation. The low bid was Allied Blacktop, which is the same company that we had last year. Hello?
I can hear you.
Yes, Todd.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Nope, you just.
Okay, all right. So reviewing this, we've got the very first thing on the top, the Petunia's patching Baptist Church Road. I know when we first talked about that, I was thinking that doing that south road was gonna be around 13 to 15,000. It's actually coming in at about 25,000. When we did the road review, I was anticipating about 10 square yards of some skin patching. And once I got out there and started marking it up, it's closer to 40. So that 200 or 2,500 is probably going to be closer to 10,000. So that top portion, which has the patching and all this crack sealing, is closer to 31,000. The chip sealing of those locations, Baptist Church Road North, South, Afton Road, and Annex Road, are 25,000. And then one of the things I wanted to discuss was we're going to do a double chip seal on 81st Avenue, Bluff Road, and 36th Street, because that one's cracking, alligator cracking pretty bad. So a double chip seal will hopefully keep the water from getting down into the subgrade. One thing that we had talked about, you got some other bids here from Dahlheimer. I'll show you what I get. I talked to Todd about this. So what you see on the screen, I talked about possibly just turning it into a hammerhead alternate and just not doing anything with that area where it says remove bit. But Todd and I were just thinking, he's like, well, why don't you just do the double chip seal into the driveway and leave the whole bulb alone and don't do anything? Because if we go with repairing that outside, at those outside edges, that bid that Dahlheimer came up with, I think he had another company, kind of a subcontractor, came in at $5,400. But if we were to turn all that bit just back to remove it and just make it grass for now, that was going to be $3,800. So I think what Todd and I had probably considered the best course of action is just to leave everything alone on the bulb and just double chip seal it right up to the driveway and just leave it at that 25-foot width, 24-foot width right up to the driveway end there. So let me go back to my road report here. So to get the cost breakdown on that, it's in front of you here now on your screen. So our chip sealing come in at 32,000. We've got, they don't have it in here because it is a lump sum bid. And then the crack filling was at 20,297. And those are our costs. If you look over here to the right, I'm highlighting, there's a little portion of Baptist Church Road South that the city has. That's going to be $850. I've already spoken with them. I need to circle back and tell them that where the bids came in at. Baldwin Township has half of the south half of Afton Road, so their portion would be $911. And then we do the chip seal on 33rd Street up in front of the Bethel Reform. The city's also, their portion on that one is $783. So those are the calculations. I just have little notes in there of how the cost breakdown is set up there. The whole on 33rd, the whole north side is ours. The south side is 47% ours, 52% the city's. So that's how I came up with the breakdowns. And when I meet with the city and the Baldwin Township, I'll explain these numbers to them. But they already seem like they're all on board with paying their fair share. So that's not going to be an issue.
Maybe because they haven't paid for the last 40 years.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. So if you look at the bottom portion of, I'm sorry, one thing that I didn't explain on the top half of this report, it says it's 31,000. I said it was 31,000. That was including 54th Avenue, 14th Street, 16th Street, Allo Court. So those are Fox. What are they?
Fox Acres.
Yeah, so Fox Acres, Orchard Pines. We would not do the crack fill on those. We would do Orchard Pine or Fox Acres, but we would keep 55th Avenue, which runs north and south, which is the collector road for those two developments. So by doing that, pulling them out of the tabulation, we're down to the $20,000, not the 31. That's, if that all makes sense to everybody. So our total for the crack fill chip seal for this year would be, hold on here. Oh, I gotta do something. Just give me 2 seconds here. Try that enter. We gotta use a different monitor. Using the wrong keyboard. So that lowers it by $5,000. So instead of the 68,000 we thought it was gonna be with this proposal, we're gonna be at 60,893. So we're actually $4,000 under what I had budgeted for the chip sealing, crack filling, and potholing. So that's my recommendation, is that we eliminate those items that are in the orange there on the screen. And if we have any left over, I don't know if you guys recall, but when we did the road review, we had several, maybe a half a dozen areas where the roads were sinking. I think it's important, in order to get good estimates in the future, we need to know what's down there. Otherwise, people are just giving us guesstimates, and they might be high or they might be low. I'd like to hire the same company that we did our other borings from, and get an idea of what we have down on those 6 locations, if money is available. Todd, was there something else that we talked about, do you recall?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Can you tell me again what you anticipate the patching to be?
I think it's gonna be around 10,000.
Okay.
Because they went by the square yard, not a lump sum, right? So if it's actually at 40 square yards, it's gonna be 4 times what they had bid, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you think about 40, okay, 40 square yards, all right. Got it.
So, so I guess I'll need a motion tonight, either to accept this low bid, this low quoter, so that I can also then work with the city and let them know. One other thing that we may be able to take off of here for costs, last year we worked with the city, Allied was willing to work with us, and they did all the sweep up, but they dumped it into the Princeton's trucks, and the Princeton hauled it away, and then they kept it for their future use. But it saved us, I think, $2,800 last year.
Absolutely.
So I'll be working with them on that, if everybody's okay with that. That's not gonna change what, the city's gonna end up, out of this total bill, is gonna end up writing us a check for, oops, I keep pulling the wrong note down here, for about $1,600. So, Todd, you haven't notified did you notify anybody yet of who the low bid is?
Yeah, I did let all of them know, the bid tab here, so everybody's aware of it.
Okay.
Allied called me today, and they're anticipating that, the project gets approved. If it does and we move forward, they want to start next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. So I guess if that's the case, I'll fast track some of those contracts. And then Matt from Allied said he was going to call the city and talk to them about all of this sweeping stuff and get that all arranged. So.
Okay, and I'll get him an updated map also, so I'll call him tomorrow if we get a motion to approve this low quote. So I just need a motion to approve.
And we can get all our legals done in that time? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah, basically I'll get the contracts ready and have Matt sign them tomorrow. I'll just email it up to Doug and Gene if you want to sign it, Thursday, that's fine. The only other piece we need from Allied is an insurance certificate because we're not requiring the bonds or the payment bonds or anything. So yeah, it can happen pretty quick, so.
Thank you. You made that motion?
I didn't, I just figured I'd let one of you make that.
Is there a motion to accept the crack and chip seal bids?
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and second to accept Allied Blacktop as the crack and chip seal quote. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting Allied Blacktop as the crack and chip seal quote? Low bidder, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
So, real quick, is everybody okay with us, with this, kind of leaving this bulb, let it go for a while? I mean, when we were out there, Jesse's like, nobody drives that, the only ones that drive on are the snowplows. And they can just do a turnaround real quick if they have to. So we'll remove that from the, Todd, you gonna, I'll talk with Matt too, to let him know what our changes here are.
Yeah, that's fine.
If we get which ones we're removing.
And I'll make sure that,
We'll connect tomorrow.
okay.
All right, thank you. And I don't have any other thing, the LRIP, no word yet on what the current status is, so still in holding pattern. That's all I have for the road report. No, the Dahlheimer bids were for informational purposes really only, just to let them know that it was gonna be 5,000 and almost 4,000 to correct that. We're not gonna do it.
Any supervisors have any reports?
Pretty much covered
The
everything.
planning commission, again.
No, we had a planning commission meeting last night. They're looking to upgrade the entire sewer system in a long stretch time, so they came out with a plan that will be, it's comprehensive wastewater plan, I believe. Anyways, it's in phases. It'll cost about 113 million, somewhere in there. But that's to keep up with everybody growing. The main goal is to start with the phase one, is what their hopes, to, they'll be extending out to our areas, so 33rd and 82nd is where they wanna kinda get out to, but the goal is, a lot of pipes that are, back from way back when, that they've had issues with, they wanna upgrade all that, so there's phases, but.
Yeah, I didn't get the notification on the meeting, so.
Oh, I was wondering where you were, I was sitting there going, I know Gene's here, but, no, it was about 2 hours, it was about 45 minutes. But.
A little longer than ours.
So I don't have, that was that report in the airport. It's just kind of, we're just moving along with the taxi lane reconstruction, nothing new.
Planning commission, we pretty much all went over. Did you want to talk about your deal that you brought up there? Or?
No, not at this time.
Fire board?
We didn't have a meeting, so
Okay.
next one's not until July.
Okay, any other reports, anything else to come before the meeting before we adjourn? There is none. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So a motion to adjourn at 9:45 PM.
Second.
I believe I heard a second from John. Motion made,
My
second,
God,
all
it's
in
just
favor,
turning,
say.
I'm so hungry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carried, we are adjourned, thank you all.
Got some leftover Chinese.
Leave.
Just in time, because I ran out of water.
I ran a long time ago.
Yeah, we got